The musical genius Luke just dropped a new album, and the single She Can Hear went viral overnight, sweeping major awards. He actually wrote that song back in high school, back when he was my deskmate. When he got to the last line of the song, he reached over and yanked out my hearing aid. I never heard it. Years later, I finally heard the end of that song. I Like You. Luke's concert had just wrapped up when the trending searches blew up more than a dozen of them, as expected from someone with his level of popularity. Especially that final performance tonight of She Can Hear, a song that dominated this year's music awards and stirred up everyone's memories of their first love. I clicked into Luke's fan support group and quietly lurked. The chat was constantly lighting up with 99+ new messages, full of excited guys and girls who had just left the concert. Their messages were mostly incoherent praise, which painted a vivid picture of how breathtaking the live show must have been. Someone suddenly tagged me and asked, "Admin, didn't you go to Luke's concert?" I've been a fan of Luke for as long as he's been in the industry, and I was the one who started this group. Everyone knew how much I liked him, but I didn't manage to get a ticket scalpers backed out even after we agreed on a price. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. The group quickly moved on to other topics. I think we've got ourselves a future sister-in-law. She was sitting front row VIP, a gorgeous woman in a mask. After the show, staff even escorted her backstage. My eyelids twitched. I exited the group and saw the top trending tag, Luke First Love. It was a video. The masked girl in the front row stood out in the crowd. Her eyes, the only part of her face visible, were stunning. There was an empty seat beside her where she'd left her bag. She looked up at Luke on stage, eyes glowing. Luke was bathed in light as he played the piano, his expression calm and soft, glancing toward her more than once. The lighting in the video was dizzying, casting a dreamy haze, like a love story playing out across the crowd. Someone leaked that the song was written for her Luke's long-lost first love. They're made for each other. Real love in showbiz? Am I the only one upset about that empty front row seat? What a waste. I turned off my phone. I don't really follow celebrity gossip. I only follow one person, Luke. It's hard to describe what I feel. The brighter he shines, the farther away he seems. I'm planning to hand off the fan group duties in the next few days. It's time I moved on. While writing in my journal that night, I played Luke's hit song She Can Hear again. I'd actually heard the melody back in high school. Luke chose me as his deskmate because I was the quietest in class, not like the other girls who crushed on him and annoyed him. Truth is, I was just quiet. People used to call me deaf girl or mute girl, but Luke never did. I kind of liked him, though I hid it so well that he never knew. I remember everything about him. One night at the end of our junior year, he pulled me up off the ground, wiped the blood off my forehead, and sang that same song to me, the exact same melody and lyrics. I could feel summer radiating off him. Our shadows leaned against each other on the ground. When he got to the final line, he suddenly removed my hearing aid, and my world fell silent. All I could see were his eyes. He leaned in close and sang in my ear, "I like you." So that's what it was. It didn't take long for netizens to find out who the mystery woman in the mask was. Jessica, a singer from a talent show known for her rich girl chasing dreams persona. She writes her own songs and once said in an interview, bright and bold, "I joined the entertainment industry for one person. He's a musical genius." The answer's obvious now. It was Luke. Her social media was flooded in no time with comments like, "Hey sis-in-law, I didn't really feel jealous, just a little empty inside. So that's the kind of girl Luke likes." I handed over the fan group to another fellow fan and arranged to meet her in person at a cafe. The cafe's background music was, of course, Luke's She Can Hear. The girl at the next table was bubbling over to her friend. "Did you see Jessica and Luke's latest interview?" I'm dying from the cuteness. The friend I'd followed Luke with for years arrived late. Her username was Little Bunny. She froze for a second when she saw me. I smiled and teased, "Wearing hearing aids means I can't enjoy music?" She waved her hands quickly, the tension broke. Right before I passed the torch and handed over everything, she half joked, "How many years have you been a fan of Luke, huh?" 7. She burst out laughing. "He's only been famous for 4. I looked at my reflection in the glass door and smiled faintly. From 17 to 24, that's 7 years. I didn't get it wrong. I've liked Luke for 7 years without realizing it. Any regrets? She asked one last time. I said, no regrets. I logged into QQ. Everyone uses WeChat now, so QQ's pretty much abandoned. But back in high school, QQ was everything. Most of my contacts are gone now, but I scrolled to my special attention list. Only one name remained. Luke. His avatar was always gray. I'd added him under the pretense of needing homework help when we were desk buddies, but I think the account got hacked later because it's never lit up again. Even knowing that, I still never dared message him. I'd just open the chat whenever I thought of him and sit there in silence. That's what I did again, opened the chat, hoping to say a proper goodbye. I typed and deleted so many times. In the end, I only sent 3 words. Beautiful song. Just that, and my palms were already sweating. I knew he wouldn't see it. Still, my heart was racing. Then, his avatar flickered, from gray to color, offline to online. Typing, Luke sent 2 words. Thank you. Then, did you hear it? I froze. I never imagined he'd see it, let alone reply. The screen dimmed before I remembered to type back. I thought, and finally replied, I did. Your songs are everywhere now. Congrats. My once close desk mate had become a legend of the music world. I was truly happy for him. Wishing him nothing but the best. The chat showed typing again and again. I waited, and finally, he sent 2 words. Good night. I guess I'm terrible at conversations. But in the end, after 7 long years of secret love, I got a good night. I put away all my Luke posters and albums. My mom helped me pack. It's been so many years, time to let go. I softly said okay. My mom's a Luke fan too. She met him in high school. She always knew I wasn't just chasing some celebrity. I've always loved Luke, just Luke. My mom paused, then after a moment said with implied meaning, that girl's pretty. She was talking about Jessica. She'd been watching gossip videos about Luke and Jessica all morning, even secretly checking to see if I'd cried. She'd already dug up Jessica's high school photos, same school as us, a year below Luke. She was our junior. Everything lined up with the idea of Luke's first love. The little clues fit too well. Netizens who loved digging into details were all swooning. I stayed quiet for a long time, staring at that old high school photo the tabloids had found of Jessica from the sophomore year arts festival. She was announcing as the event host. Sitting behind her at the piano was Luke. They looked dazzling together. Even I had to admit they made a perfect pair. After the rumors about Luke and Jessica broke, our old high school, Chinglin High, hit the jackpot. As both of their alma mater, Chinglin had been preparing for its 100th anniversary, and as soon as they advertised Luke as a famous alumnus, the school shot to the top of trending searches. The school had already sent out invites to past graduates, so I'd be going too. I didn't have much nostalgia for Chinglin High. The only thing worth remembering or holding on to was Luke. But this time, I had to go. Luke would be there, and I needed to see him one last time to return what I owed. My mom opened her bedside drawer and carefully took out a tin box. Inside was a savings passbook. Neither of us earned much, and saving that money had been hard. The amount matched what Luke had once paid for my hearing aid. I'd return it during the celebration, without taking up too much of his time. Holding the passbook, I felt a little dazed. I was really going to see Luke. But I hadn't expected that on the day of Chinglin High's centennial celebration, I'd almost be turned away at the door. Media swarmed the gate with cameras and lenses, blocked far off by security. Police stood at the intersection to maintain order. Every alumnus was screened thoroughly to prevent stalkers or paparazzi from sneaking in. I didn't make it through because I hadn't received my invitation letter yet. I dug through my bag and pulled out every school ID I had just short of calling my retired homeroom teacher to vouch for me. I was so parched from talking, and just as the guard gave me a dismissive glance, his eyes caught on my hearing aid and lit up. I thought he might finally let me through, but instead, he shoved me aside and turned to greet someone else. I almost stumbled. The clicks of cameras went off like fireworks. It might have been mistaken for a celebrity red carpet. I turned around and saw it was Jessica. Surrounded by bodyguards, her striking features hidden behind sunglasses. Her face had been plastered all over social media lately. The guard recognized her instantly and let her through without even asking for an invite. I lowered my eyes, quietly waiting for her entourage to pass, but as she walked by, she stopped. Confused, I looked up. Her gaze landed on my ear, then shifted to my face. She stared for a beat, then slowly removed her sunglasses, revealing bold, fierce features. Jessica gave a small laugh. "This is Chinglin High, not a school for the deaf and mute. Make sure you're at the right place, yeah?" I blinked in shock, my face burning. The security guard chuckled and patted his chest confidently. "Don't worry, Miss Jessica. We've got security under control. We won't let just anyone in." I'd faced prejudice before, but this time it stung more than ever. It nearly knocked the breath out of me. I couldn't even argue back. I just lowered my eyes, then saw a sleek black car pull up behind Jessica. The tinted window slowly rolled down, revealing a cool, elegant face. I never imagined my reunion with Luke would happen like this, definitely not when I was at such a low point. I lowered my head quickly, but not fast enough. "Jennifer." Luke said my name, voice soft. It was the first thing he said. Fans and reporters had already spotted him. Flashbulbs exploded in broad daylight like fireworks at a grand reunion. "Long time no see, desk buddy." Clear and deliberate. His second sentence. "Desk buddy." When I think back to high school, I hardly remember the cruel nicknames like Deaf Girl or Mute Girl. What I remember is Luke, waking from his afternoon naps, red marks on his cheek. Croaky voice asking me, "Hey desk buddy, what time is it?" Luke was popular, quiet, but not cold. Just leaning back in his chair, twirling a pen and smiling faintly, was enough to attract a crowd. I was different, quiet, isolated. My hearing aid was cheap and mismatched to my hearing loss. I often drifted in a world of silence. People tried to talk to me at first, but eventually they gave up. Except Luke, maybe he was bored sitting next to me for so long. He'd patiently repeat things again and again. "Hey, desk buddy, time to turn in the homework. Desk buddy, give me a hand. Can you hear me, desk buddy?" Desk buddy. My deskmate Luke was no longer within arm's reach. He stood tall on stage now. When Luke, the school's star alumnus, gave his speech, I sat in the audience, still a little dazed, holding his jacket. I should have reminded him it's not a good idea to show up with another girl in front of the one you like. That look Luke gave Jessica earlier had me worried. The guard who blocked me turned pale the moment Luke called out to me. Luke got out of the car himself, signed my alumni verification, and brought me in. Jessica was now seated behind me, and I finally understood the meaning of a thorn in one's back. I kept my head high, quietly watching Luke on stage. He hadn't changed much, just a bit more reserved. His monolid eyes were most captivating when he looked down playing the guitar, that tiny mole at the corner of his eye. After reading the last line of his speech, he bowed slightly. I clapped along with the others, cherishing the moment, unsure if there would ever be another. Standing at the podium, Luke suddenly looked straight at me and smiled. During the student Q&A, he answered a few questions smoothly. The last girl, around 16 or 17, with a high ponytail bobbing, stood up with a cheeky grin and asked, "Luke, people online say you had a first love back in high school, is that true?" The whole room held its breath. Luke's expression stayed calm. "It's true." Everyone turned to look at Jessica. For some reason, her smile faltered. The girl pressed on, voice trembling with excitement. "Is she here today?" Luke hesitated a beat, ears flushing red. His voice was soft but steady. "Yes." The high schoolers screamed so loud it nearly tore the roof off. I clutched my chest, feeling something strange, something ridiculous. My heart was burning hot. The Q&A had ended, but then someone stood up uninvited, not a student, no mic in hand. But his voice boomed. He shouted at Luke, who was about to step off the stage. "Big singer, big star. Remember Jason, the guy you nearly crippled back in junior year? Why does a campus bully like you get to live the good life?" The crowd erupted in chaos. Luke looked up and glanced at him, utterly disdainful, like he was watching a clown. Security quickly subdued the disruptor, and the whole incident passed just as fast. But I stood frozen, unable to move. I hadn't heard the name Jason in years. It was a nightmare from the past. After the event, I never got a chance to be alone with Luke. He was swamped signing autographs. The jacket in my hand and the passbook in my bag felt scorching. I should have returned them sooner. I walked to the classroom from my memories. It was now abandoned. Peering through the dusty glass, I saw a summer long past Luke sketching music notes on scrap paper, a soda bottle perched on his desk. I stared, lost in thought. When I turned around, I saw Luke leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Who knew how long he'd been watching me? I blurted out, "I'm sorry." He looked slightly amused, reached out and took his jacket from me. Sorry for what? Just then, the radio started playing his song She Can Hear. I didn't really know why. I just always felt the need to apologize. Maybe I felt sorry that my presence had triggered that awkward scene during the school celebration. I pressed my lips together, pulled the passbook from my bag, and handed it to him. "This is for the medical bills and hearing aid you paid for back then. My mom and I have always been grateful. I'm giving it back now." He froze. I'd worried Luke might refuse it, but he reached for it quickly, our fingers brushing for a moment. Then, for some reason, he smiled. "He's not someone who shows emotions easily." Luke said softly, "You never forgot me. That's nice." His focus was always so strange. "But no, I'd never forget you." Luke didn't want to leave through the main gate, too many reporters and fans. He pulled a baseball cap low over his eyes, and I led him through a side path. The skies had been gray all day for the celebration, and now they were getting darker. Sure enough, halfway through, it started to rain. I pulled him into a flower shop nearby, and the bell above the door clanged as we entered. "My mom opened this shop a couple years ago. There's a saying, sell flowers in this life, come back pretty in the next. I only ever wished for good hearing." The shop was empty. She was probably out visiting neighbors. Luke had just finished a call with his manager and was now wandering the shop. While I turned to make him a cup of tea, he was already examining something, his back to me. My eyes widened. I almost spilled the tea. The cardboard boxes my mom and I had packed up days ago were sitting right there, full of Luke's posters, albums, and signed photos. She must have just moved them here, waiting for someone to pick them up. And now, by some twist of fate, Luke had seen them. I froze, a wave of shame washing over me like all my hidden feelings had just been laid bare. Luke picked up one of the albums, looking down with that single eyelid of his. "This one's from my earliest days." I watched him carefully, trying to read his face. Then I gave a distant, awkward smile, like any old classmate would. "It's a rare find. You've always been popular. I'd spent years collecting all that. Every one of your songs, every album, I've heard them all. I love you." The rest of the sentence caught in my throat. I lowered my eyes, paused, then smiled, dry and helpless. "Luke, I'm your #1 fan. A lot of people loved the musical genius Luke, but I was different. I only ever loved Luke." Luke turned around, the tiny mole under his eye catching the light. He said softly, "But you've never been to any of my concerts." Outside, the rain had stopped. The wind chime rang again. After Luke left, my fellow fangirl bunny messaged me, updating me on the latest group gossip. The fan group was starting to dislike Jessica. After riding Luke's fame, she'd snapped up big-name endorsements too fast, too calculated. She went on about all sorts of fan drama. As I read, I suddenly typed a message. "Bunny, actually Luke and I were desk mates in high school. He even asked me why I never came to any of his concerts." No reply at first. Then a bunch of ha-ha-has rolled in. She must have thought I was joking. I smiled faintly too, eyes downcast. Seeing my name next to Luke's was always too far-fetched. I buried that wild thought deep down. Someone had recorded that Q&A from the celebration and uploaded it. The bubbly student had asked Luke, high above on stage, "Is the white moonlight real?" He answered, "Yes." "Is she here today?" He paused, then said, "She is." Luke had always been known for being cool and aloof. Rarely did he show emotion, smiles, excitement, never easy to see. But in that video, his ears turned red. The frame even caught Jessica in the corner. Their names surged to the top of the hot list. Jessica posted a Weibo shortly after. "I heard it." It was a direct play on the song title loaded with implication. It was her first public hint at their relationship, an unofficial nod that she was Luke's first love. Their couple fans went wild like it was New Year's. But Jessica had been too aggressive lately, taking on roles, landing endorsements. Luke's fanbase, large as it was, felt she was too opportunistic. Still, out of respect for Luke, they begrudgingly offered their blessings. This long-running secret crush seemed like it was finally heading for a fairy tale ending until an exclusive interview with Luke, recorded right after the concert, suddenly dropped. Luke rarely did these kinds of personal interviews. Half joking, the host asked, "Mr. Luke, the fans asked me to find out, is your first love an older classmate or a junior?" Luke shook his head, eyes lowered. "Neither. She was my classmate." The host, ever professional, quickly masked their surprise. Jessica, who had been hyped by PR campaigns and was in fact a year below him, had just been publicly contradicted. Near the end of the interview, the host asked, "Your song She Can Hear will surely become a generational anthem. Why did you choose that title?" This time, Luke stayed silent for quite a while. When he finally looked up, it was straight into the camera. He blinked slowly, for once looking a little lost. His eyes seemed to reach through the screen. One afternoon, on the blood-red track, she slowly walked toward me. I just wanted to know when she passed by me, did she hear it? The sound of my heartbeat, fast and uncontainable. Did she hear the overwhelming love I couldn't hide? Luke didn't have a personal Weibo. His studio account immediately reposted the interview. The head of Luke's label commented, "Someone who wasn't supposed to hear it heard it." Almost at the same time the interview went live, Jessica deleted her post. "I heard it." Ever since the concert ended, this had been the peak of Jessica's showbiz career, but it was all built on rumors and clout chasing. The outrageous gossip between her and Luke wouldn't have blown up like this without her subtle encouragement and her PR team's deliberate orchestration. Luke had always stayed out of these things, focusing solely on his music. Over the years, plenty of people tried to ride his fame, but it was usually just a joke to everyone. This time, people could tell Luke was serious. That's why the backlash against Jessica came hard. Stealing someone else's love story was shameful, no matter where you were. One by one, the endorsements she'd signed fell through, and she had to pay hefty penalties for breach of contract. She posted a half-hearted excuse on Weibo. "Ha ha ha, just kidding. I mean, everyone can hear normally, right?" Ever since Jessica's clout-chasing scandal broke, Bunny had been ranting to me on the phone for a full day, recycling the same curses over and over. She sipped her tea angrily and added, "I've got insider info. Jessica's got family money and her company's backing her. They've already shelled out big money to buy a scandalous video. They're planning to release it to distract the public." My eyelids twitched for no reason. I felt uneasy, like something bad was coming. And it did. The scandalous video dropped that night and instantly exploded online, hitting #1 on Weibo. The trending tag was Luke Campus Bullying. Clicking into it, the Wistleb lower held up an ID and accused Luke of violently bullying him back in school, complete with old medical reports and a close-up of a scar on his nose. He claimed Luke nearly crippled him, then left the country for further studies. The name on the ID was Jason. In recent years, campus bullying had become a sensitive issue. The public's response was intense, and the person being accused was none other than Luke, the idol many saw as a symbol of purity. I watched the video, shaking all over. Jason's words were full of lies and manipulations. But the one thing that wasn't false was the scar. Luke had caused it. Jason and I had been at the same schools for years. Whenever I was new somewhere, people usually liked me. Even though I was a little different, I always smiled politely and watched quietly. But with Jason around, every day got harder. In elementary school, he'd tug at my worn-out backpack and throw rocks at my head, rallying kids to attack the deaf monster. In middle school, he sat behind me and, through my clothes, unclasped my bra, then called over the boys to look. He'd chase me around shouting "deaf girl." Later, when he noticed I cried silently, he started calling me mute girl instead. He had some money, so he bullied everyone, led others to isolate me. Things only got better in high school because I met Luke. I was lucky to be quiet enough that we ended up as desk mates. Jason toned it down by then. One night, during our junior year talent show, I went to return Luke's student badge. He was the final act. Between the school building and the gym was a path through the trees, dimly lit and covered in rocks. That night, Jason blocked my way. A few of his lackeys were filming with a DSLR. They probably thought they were being artistic or romantic. He said he realized he liked me and wanted to be with me. I felt sick. Like always, I pretended not to hear, lowered my eyes, and tried to walk past. But just as I passed him, he shoved me to the ground. My head slammed against the rocks. Warm blood trickled down. My ears were ringing. One hearing aid flew off. Jason stepped on it. That hearing aid was the best one my mom could afford, our lifeline. The guy filming laughed out loud. I recognized him. He'd been Jason's flunky since grade school. He said, "Jason, man, you haven't unclasped her bra in years." But this time was different. Jason didn't do it over clothes. The gym lights glowed brightly in the distance. The show had already started. I couldn't fight back, felt like a fish flailing on the shore. Then suddenly, a flashlight beam cut through the trees. Jason and his gang scattered like rats. The one who stepped forward, bathed in moonlight, was Luke. I reached out my hand. In my palm was the shiny student badge. His face was calm and steady. Luke helped me fix my clothes, pulled me to my feet, and wiped the blood from my forehead. Then he walked me home. On the narrow path, I saw our shadows lean into each other. We'd never been that close, but my shadow was trembling. I said, "The show isn't over yet. I can go back by myself. You still have to perform." Luke's voice was gentle. "It's okay." That song wasn't meant for them anyway. I was only wearing one hearing aid. All the sounds in my world came from him, but it was a bad device kept cutting out. I couldn't fully catch what he meant, but his voice came through husky, the melody painfully beautiful. With him, I had countless moments where I nearly cried. In the quiet night, he suddenly removed my hearing aid and sang the final line of his song into my ear. Years later, I found out the song was called "She Can Hear," and it ended with "I Like You." After Luke walked me home that night, he went back to school. The same hands that played piano could also strike hard. Jason and his gang never came back. Luke's family arranged for him to study abroad. I guess they settled it behind closed doors. I never saw Luke again after that. Before he left, he sent me a package, a brand new hearing aid. It fit perfectly. Clear, comfortable. He also included a memory card from the DSLR. My senior year at Chinglin High was long and dull. Without Jason and his crew, life was finally quiet. I got a few new desk mates, but no one called me desk buddy again. Something always felt missing. Only on graduation day did I realize I'd lost the most important part of my youth. Then one day, I heard Luke's song playing in the street. I hadn't lied to him. I really was his #1 fan. When I listened to his music, I often felt like he was still right there beside me. Like he'd never left. But I never imagined Jason's lies would resurface years later. Even though he twisted the truth, even though he was full of hate, so many people still believed him. After the bullying scandal broke, Luke's public image took the worst hit of his career. Bunny, who worked in his fan club, was losing her mind furious with Jessica and her shady agency. Luke's upcoming performances were all canceled. Multiple brands ended contracts. And Luke, he remained completely silent, not a single word. He could have cleared things up, at least explained what really happened, but that would have dragged me into it. It would have hurt me, Luke called. All I heard through the receiver was his quiet breathing. His voice was calm. "Jennifer, I'll handle this. You don't have to get involved." I tilted my head and held the phone with my shoulder, rummaging through boxes in the attic until I found a small brown case. Inside was an old hearing aid, Luke's student badge, and a tiny memory card from a DSLR, the one Luke had taken back from Jason's lackey. I exhaled and gripped the memory card tightly. Luke hadn't hung up this whole time. I whispered, "I know, but I just want to help you somehow." Luke deserved to stand tall in the music world, respected and untarnished. I booted up my computer, imported the video, and started writing a blog post. I knew I was a coward, but just this once, I wanted to be brave. In the video, a small girl is shoved to the ground, blood running down her forehead. The person filming uses disgusting slurs. Jason's face is clearly visible, even after 7 years. You can clearly see him yanking my hair, lifting my school uniform, unclasping my bra, spitting on my back. They laugh. Mute. Deaf. I laid out my history with Jason in chronological order, how parents turned a blind eye, how teachers and the school did nothing. I believe in karma, in justice. But without Luke, who would have made Jason pay? Who would have stood up for me? I hit the yellow post button. The internet exploded again, but this time, it was for the better. Jason was a classic case of the villain playing victim. His lies collapsed in the face of the video. Alumni from Chinglin High rallied to support Luke. Jason was utterly disgraced. Under his Weibo, the top comments read, "Why didn't our Luke beat the living hell out of you, you bastard?" He got hit with a lawyer's letter from Luke and had his father's criminal debts dug up. The police got involved. He became the poster child for scumbags that year. Then entertainment media revealed that Jason's smear video had been bought and planted by Jessica's team to shift public attention. That blew her whole sweet rich girl persona apart. Jessica was eventually forced to apologize. Even her agency couldn't protect her. She paid damages, then slunk out of the industry. My life, meanwhile, stayed the same. After graduation, I became a teacher at a school for the hearing impaired. Life was simple, and people were kind, but netizens traced my blog and found it was filled with posts about the school. Donations and supplies started pouring in. This month, the school received the most support it ever had. One night, Bunny called me. She didn't say a word, just cried on the phone for half an hour. Finally, she wiped her tears and shouted with all her might, "It's all over now, little Jennifer. Go walk your flower path with pride. Desk buddy, go walk your path in bloom." I kept teaching my kids as usual. They were quiet and sweet. One afternoon, we were watching TV in class. Luke's MV came on. A fully deaf student tugged at me, signing gently, "Teacher, is his song beautiful?" I nodded. The little one's eyes lit up and his mouth fell open in surprise. "Why is he here?" he cried. I turned and saw someone leaning his head against the window pane, peering in from behind the stained glass. It was like we were 17 again. Luke tapped on the glass with his knuckle, eyes downcast beneath his monolid lids. The kids all turned to look at him, then at me. The classroom erupted in rare chaos. I flushed, caught off guard. Kids these days, so sharp. Luke had come to film an MV for his new song and promote hearing loss awareness. The principal assigned me to welcome him. But my hearing had worsened. My head throbbed constantly, and even with hearing aids, I struggled to understand. I think Luke noticed, but he never said anything. He just patiently repeated himself over and over. I'd planned to start a new treatment after Luke finished his work with the school. But I didn't make it that far. One afternoon, everything went silent. The world vanished into complete, irreversible stillness. Before I went into surgery, Luke stayed by my side. Only after I spoke out did people finally understand why that song title meant so much to Luke. This time, everyone believed it. This time, it was real. Luke finally opened a Weibo account and responded to all the rumors. Luke V. Yes, I had a crush on her for 7 years. I found 2 old letters at home, mixed in with newspaper clippings. One was an invitation to Qinglanhai's anniversary celebration. The other was older, a VIP concert ticket to one of my shows. Honestly, I'm not afraid at all. Even if I lose my hearing forever, I'm not afraid. Because once, in a June summer, she became the only one who heard me. And 7 years later, I walked through streets filled with "She can hear," and finally she heard it. Luke's love.